Alright, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby, representing Team Kings of Games. And today I'm going to be showcasing you guys an update for my Monarch list. Man, that ban list was like a long time overdue. Because to be honest, Monarchs wasn't doing anything for years. You know, I think it's been like 4 years that they've been dormant. Kind of, or like 3 years that they've been dormant. Like, not really doing too much on the competitive scene. Slowly but surely, we got our cards back. We started off, you know, after so many hits, we started off with 1 Stormforth, only 1 Aether, and 1 Pantheism. And now we have 3 Aethers, 3 Stormforth, and 3 Pantheism. So this deck is back at full power. There's no Monarch cards that are on the ban list anymore. This deck is as strong as it was back in its prime, except, you know, there's a different card pool now. There's cards like Talents, Droplets, more hand traps that ever existed in versus that time frame where like Veiler was like, you know, one of the best hand traps back in that time. But you know, it's still a really good deck, to be honest. And do I think it's meta viable? Nah, because, like, you know, to be honest, its win condition isn't good against every deck, and it's still prone to bricking, meaning now your bricks come from not drawing tribute monsters or tribute fodder, or both. And also your bricking comes from like drawing too many tribute fodders, you know. So like, I think that the deck still has the same issues that it had in the past. When it was at full power, it was like you would normally have like tribute fodder but no tribute monsters, or you would have tribute monsters and no tribute fodder. But now what I've completed is like a pretty strong algorithm that I've always followed with Monarchs, and the mathematical approach is similar to Cosmos, where you want the same exact probability of opening both a pilot and a ship. So let's go ahead and get into the profile. So as you guys can see, starting off, I've always pretty much talked about this in my Monarch profiles. You want your tribute fodder to tribute summon ratio to be very similar, because you want to open both in hand every time. A tribute summonable monster is only going to be strong if you have the fodder, and the fodder is only going to be strong if you have a tribute summonable monster. So as you guys see the Monarch lineup, I have 11 tribute fodders, and then 2, 4, 7, 10, 11, 12 tribute fodder. So 11 tribute summonable monsters and 12 tribute fodders, and that also accrues for literally half of your deck, actually. Okay, babe, a little bit more than half of your deck. 23 cards out of your deck is going to be tribute fodder or tribute summonable monsters, so you have a high probability of opening both or either or, which is really strong. So I already got that out the way. What I'm going to do now, before we get into like some spice and all that, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to showcase the list. So 3 Erebus. I really like Erebus, very similar to Gishki Zilgigas. It has a spell removal that both doesn't target and doesn't destroy, and it literally shuffles a card from hand, graveyard, or field into the deck. That's really, really broken. So this card is really powerful, actually. In the terms of like just dealing with threats, there's really nothing better in this main deck than Erebus, because its spot removal is like hands down. You know, there's really like there's nothing better than that. It outs Dragoons, you know, it can out anything that can be affected by monster effects. And his graveyard effect is actually super strong. Once you burn through your Aethers, you can just recur them from grave. You can recur your Kurazes. His graveyard effect is super relevant. So like Erebus is just a standalone, really, really powerful, strong card. Then we play 1 Thessalos. I still think information is important. I like the burn for when you're going into time. I like that it's searchable. I like that you can summon it on your opponent's turn via escalation and really wreck your opponent's hand, because like that right there is like super relevant. Looking at your opponent's hand, taking their best card, and just being able to recur it, whether you like tribute summon it for your turn and then tribute over it, because I do play a build that gets multiple tributes in a turn. Tribute over it, use Erebus's graveyard effect to grab it back, and then tribute summon for it again on your opponent's turn. Or if you just start off with Erebus and then Thessalos via escalation on your opponent's turn, you can still use Aether's own effects. You could tribute summon twice during your opponent's turn, ripping a card out their hand after you've already ripped one turn 1, so that's hand loop for 2, and then Aether via Stormforth to disrupt their combos, tribute their monster, stick Aether, and use her effect to like pop cards or disrupt graveyards. And then I play Caius because he's just so good. He's so good, and when you play against dark decks, it gets even better. But this card, just banishing cards, burning is just super relevant. And when you tribute a dark, which obviously you could just tribute Eidos, you're going to be able to banish 2 cards. So this, it's like, for me, it's bad to not play Caius. He's just so strong. It makes no sense to not play him. And his effect, or if it's a dark monster, banish all cards with that name from hand, main deck, extra deck, and graveyard. Are you kidding me? That's like super good. I know Orcus is not that like strong right now, but like the fact that you can hit Orcus, you can hit Striker Dragon and Dragon Link, you know, you can hit their Tracer, and they lose all Tracers from hand, main deck, extra deck, and graveyard. You know, just think of all the dark monsters that people use that can be like really meta relevant. This is super powerful. You know something else? Against Invoked, you can just take all their Alistairs. Which is really broken. I know that Invocation theoretically can recur it, but you have to be able to activate Invocation to get it engraved more than likely, so that you can actually put the Alistairs back. So this card can also literally cause the Invoke engine to be dead completely, which is so busted to me. So like Caius is good, and how you do that is you tribute summon for it during your opponent's turn. When they normal summon Alistair and use his effect to get Invocation, you then use Escalation to tribute summon for Caius, and then target the Alistair on Resolution, because this is a quick effect, it's a trap. Target Alistair and then banish them. So now all their Alistairs go from their main deck. So yes, I think Caius is a really good meta call. There's so many more interactions I can explain, but just that alone is just so good. And banishing Golden Lords is a lot better than shuffling them, because they can get them back from their deck. You know, they can summon off the Sanguine. So this is also really good to outgrind Eldritch just by taking their Golden Lords. And you can easily out-resource Eldritch when you have your setup, because this deck has just like, you can deck out with this deck. That's how fast-paced it is once you get going. You just like, you have so much. Like, this deck's grind game is really powerful. It's not like actually where Eldritch has like the advantage, you know, like it's really neck and neck. With like what Monarchs can do now, not just because Pantheism at 3, but just because you already had so many like follow-ups. Eidos Engrave, summoning 8 idea, you know, Prime Monarch from graveyard, affect the Prime Monarch on field, you know, the ability to use Pantheism's graveyard effects, just keep searching. Every time you tribute summon, triggering return, and then my spice, you know, my goo, advanced zone. There's just so much that you can do just getting resources. And obviously Aether is just so busted because she indirectly searches any Monarch you need, because whatever she specials go to hand. So if you don't want a second Aether, if you already have a second copy, you'll then just summon Thessalos or Erebus or Kaios, anything that you need to set up Erupt, because indirectly Aether and Erebus also search any Monarch spell or trap because they dump Pantheism, and that can reveal either 3 copies of one or 1 copy and 2 Tenacity, so that you can still search it no matter what. So she can search Escalation, she can search Erupt, you know. So these cards are actually really powerful. Erebus and Aether are like the best tribute summons in this deck in the terms of getting your engine started, and Aether is actually really broken on your opponent's turn. I play double Kuros because it sucks when you draw it and you can't summon it from Aether anymore. So you do play 2, and it's one of the best ways to disrupt and also to capitalize, and plus a lot more. You can pop your own cards and just keep drawing. It's just so good. Like, honestly, Kuros is amazing. I know that letting your opponent draw cards isn't always going to be optimal, but if there just happens to be 1 card that you can afford, normally you just use Kuros to pop 1 card your opponent has and 1 card you have, so your opponent's not going to literally pot a greed, and it's still really relevant to Stormforth, tribute your opponent's monster, Kuros, pop, especially against back row decks. It's really okay to actually do that, like that play, because like back row decks normally, what cards are they going to draw? Like more back row, you know what I mean? So Kuros is pretty nice, honestly. And then 1 Delg. Delg is kind of like another one of my my tech cards. It's pretty spicy too, because this effect, similar to Kuros, does tribute on normal or special. You use Aether's effect to disrupt graveyards now. I know that there's a mill too, so your opponent has a chance of hitting another card. Like if you're playing against BA, you know, you obviously there's a risk of them milling a good card, but Delg is really good because it banishes 2. So when you play against Dinos, that's super good, because if your opponent discards Miscellaneous Saurus, its effect, you can still use Aether to just summon Delg and then banish that card, which takes that play away, including any other Dino in their graveyard. Other cards like, you know, Eldritch, you can banish their Golden Lords and their spells and traps. Just think of all the interactions where Delg can be really promising for you. So I do like having more synergy with Aether. So Aether, outside of just getting access to these cards, obviously Aether for Aether is one of the best plays turn 1. Aether special Aether, so you can Aether again on your opponent's turn. These 3 cards make Aether even more versatile and more powerful in the terms of interrupting or interacting with your opponent. I do play Landrobe, so I like Landrobe because it baits and negate when you're going second, and it sticks a free body, and when it's tributed, you can add a vassal from your graveyard to your hand. So this is a really good card, actually. I like Landrobe a lot, and in this day and age, baiting Warlord Savage and Arclight is really important for this deck, because if you don't open like both Mithra and like a 1-for-1 or an idea, your opponent can just negate your tribute fodder. Because the cool thing with like tribute summoning with this deck is like, when you use Pantheism and your opponent negates it, which is actually so broken that your opponent will literally negate it, you can use its graveyard effect. So Pantheism is so broken going second. And now, because it's engraved, basically when you tribute summon, tributing Idea, you can chain block with your tribute summonable monster, and that includes with return. So the cards to negate with this deck, your opponent, if they're smart, is going to be negating your tribute fodders. Because when you tribute summon, you can chain block with cards like Idea, cards like Landrobe, cards like Mithra. These all activate. Whether this hits a grave or you tribute it, when you tribute Mithra, it actually does activate to gain an additional tribute summon. Believe it or not, that activates. And then Landrobe activates as well. So there's chain blocking involved with your tribute summon, which means now Aether does resolve. Now Erebus does resolve. Now Kaios does resolve. So you do break their board. So the cards to negate are your tribute fodder. That's why it's really nice to have cards like Landrobe and Mithra, because they help to play through those negates. As well as cards like 1-for-1, you know, and other cards like you know, Tenacity and Pantheism really do help a lot because they do bait negates. So moving forward, the two Mithras, I like Mithra because it gives me extra tribute summons. Obviously, the only other way to tribute summon 2 times is when you 1-for-1 for Idea, or on your follow-up turns when you resolve Idea once, you Eidos for Idea to bring out another Eidos, and when you tribute summon, you're going to get an extra tribute because Eidos was summoned that turn. So your follow-up to 2 tribute summons, but starting off your first turn, you have like 3 ways. You have the 1-for-1 and the Mithra, just 3 cards that allow you to get double tribute summons. So in the past, I did play 3 Mithras, but instead, I decided to balance it out with 2 Landrobes and 2 Mithras. But Mithra is so good, you might want to play 3. It is actually that good. It's a really strong card. It seriously is. And giving your opponent a token, why is that relevant? Another interaction I want to point out is Mithra does play around Lightning Storm and Evenly Matched, which is another reason you might want to play 3. Because now that your opponent controls a card, they can't evenly match you, and they can't activate Lightning Storm because they control a face-up card. So Mithra inherently also plays around side deck cards. So is this card broken? I feel like it is sometimes. In fact, I might just bump it to 3 again because I have played it at 3 in past. It's so good. You guys are sleeping on it. Any Monarch list that doesn't play this, I feel like they just don't understand the interactions that this card provides, and they're probably, you know, missing out. And then 3 Eidos, 3 Idea. These are kind of standard. These are the best vassals, honestly. They really are. Idea is just so broken. It's such a powerful card, and it recurs your Banished Pantheism, which is so relevant. Yeah, these cards are amazing. Eidos' graveyard effect is just turns into follow-up after follow-up, and this is their vassals. Look at, you can tell by the art. This is their vassals. Moving forward, 1-1-for-1 for Idea, so you can get double tributes. Triple Pantheism. This card is Pot of Greed, but better. You draw 2 and search. This is like Engage, Sky Striker Engage. Think of it like that, Engage. It's just so broken, you guys. Pantheism is so broken. It really is. It's a broken card. It was hit to 1 for a reason. And then Rhoda, so that you can have like 5 Ideas. Idea's the best vassal. Because it gets the most advantage. So 1-for-1 and Rhoda are justifiable. You can even play Reasoning in this deck, to be honest. Reasoning's another great card that helps you mitigate the cost efficiency of having tribute fodders when you're going second. But your tribute to tribute fodder ratio is pretty nice in this deck. I gotta patent it like a science in Monarchs. 3 Tenacities. Tenacity is the equivalent of Pantheism, so you have like 6 Pantheisms. Technically speaking, these get Pantheism too. And the cool thing about Pantheism is the 3 that you reveal have no restriction. So you can actually Pantheism for 2 more Pantheisms and a Tenacity. So you can just search another Pantheism and draw 2 again. That's just so broken about this card. It's too good. It's too good. And then this is another really good tech. Strike of the Monarchs is an Omni Negate for cards on field. And its graveyard effect is kind of relevant just for tribute summoning for Kaios. That's the only time it's like relevant, because you just declare an attribute. All face-up monsters currently on the field become that attribute to the end of this turn. I guess against other playstyles, it might come up where it's relevant too, because it changes attributes if certain decks need an attribute. But for the most part, it's just a negation, which is really strong and really prominent because it's searchable. And now you have more ways to interact on your opponent's turn. So the best way to disrupt your opponent is with Strike, Stormforth, Escalation, and Erupt with Aether. So you have a lot of ways to stop your opponent. You have Aether, Stormforth tributing their monsters, Strike targeting a card and negate it, Escalation to tribute summon for Kaios, Thessalos, or Erebus to disrupt more, and Erupt being just a skill drain. So this deck is really strong going first. I'm not gonna lie, when it doesn't brick, it's really good. Then 3 returns, you just max out on this. This card it's gonna snowball out of control. It gets really out of hand. This card's so busted, and it accrues to your chain blocking going second, which is really good. This is another piece of the spice, Advanced Zone. So this card with Pantheism at 3, your consistency is kind of through the roof now. Advanced Zone's effect applies during the end phase based on the number of monsters you tribute. So if you tribute 1, you can destroy 1 set card your opponent controls. It doesn't target. So against back row decks, they don't know what you can hit. They have to chain. They can't respond. If its effect is resolving, they have to chain to the effect and not the resolution. You can't chain the resolution. That's impossible. So its second effect, draw 1 card. Its third effect, add 1 monster from your graveyard to your hand. Do you tribute 3 monsters in 1 turn, 3 stacks? Yes! Yes! You tribute 2 off the rip just by resolving idea. If you have Mithra and Idea, you're going to tribute 3 monsters during that turn. So now, during every end phase, once you get your setup, that's what I mean by, yeah, you can out-resource Eldritch, you can out-resource some of the best decks that accrue, you know, a lot of advantage, because you're getting Advanced Zone, draw 1, add from graveyard to hand every turn. You're getting Return to every time you tribute someone to search. You're getting Aether and Erebus, dumping cards like Pantheism every turn. You're having Prime to recycle and draw 1 every one of your turn and your opponent's turn. You know what I mean? You're getting Eidos and Idea to recur and special more, and Kuros to draw. So yes, and you're also getting Landrobe to add from graveyard to hand. So yes, this deck, its resource game is pretty on point. The way I built it, it's really on point. And then 3 domain. This card's a win con, you know? They either have the out or they don't, and they can't use their extra deck. Is it good against every deck? No. But any deck that can't lose to an extra deck lock, they normally might just lose to a skill drain. If they don't lose to a skill drain, they might lose to you ripping a card out of their hand on their turn. If they don't lose to that, they might lose to you banishing a card on their field on their turn. If they don't lose to that, they might lose to you popping 2 cards on their field. If they don't lose to that, they might lose to you just negating a card with strike. If you guys get what I'm getting at, they might lose to you shuffling, non-targeting, non-destruction, getting rid of one of their cards. Domain is not the only trick this deck has up its sleeve. You have other win cons. If your opponent doesn't need monster effects or their extra deck, because like Domain Erupt is like just GG no re sometimes, and if you use Mithra, they have to have Twin Twisters or Cyclone now. They can't use Evenly or Lightning Storm because they have a token. So now like they can still use the token to link off and then just crash. But I will say the reason why they still can't use the token to link off and just like crash is because, like, you know, Domain. So like they have to just use the token and literally just attack. So yeah, they'll still be able to evenly and Lightning Storm at the cost of losing their battle phase. My bad, I forgot to point that out. Somebody's surely gonna comment that, but I'm gonna timestamp them saying I did say it in my profile. So yeah, they will actually be able to do it. They have to just sacrifice their battle phase. Something else that's pretty relevant too, outside of like Domain, you know, Escalation, and also Monarchs Erupt, is like the Delve. I forgot to point that out. So yeah, you have a lot of ways to nerf your opponent. So if your opponent doesn't lose to those, they're going to lose to something. You can touch their grave, you can pop their cards, you can negate their cards, you can shuffle their cards, you can banish their cards, you can take their cards from hand, you can just skill drain them, lock them out their extra deck, perm negate. Strike does play around Lightning Storm and evenly. It's searchable. It's extremely accessible now because these dump Pantheism. Pantheism can just reveal this and 2 tenacities, and you just search this. So now you have a searchable card that interacts with evenly and Lightning Storm. So you have like a lot of ways to stop the hard counters to this deck. And then double prime. You need more than one because you do dump one off these, so you get its graveyard effect, which is super relevant for just grinding. And then its effect, like to just target 2, shuffle, and draw 1, is really, really strong too. As you see, siding, I side 3 Nibs, 3 Vanity's Fiend. You know, sometimes this is better than Domain. You side this in when you know for sure you're going first. Because this, unlike every other Monarch that I play, this doesn't do much going second, but all of these can still be relevant because they have good effects going second or first. 3 Imperms, 3 Evenlies, and 3 Judgment to sum up the deck profile in general. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to do some test hands. Duels will be a separate video. Alright, so opening hand, I have Idea, I have Delg, I have Landrobe. If I was going second, this would be pretty nice too, and I'd be top decking Aether. Oh wow, that's broken. Why can't this be Aether, right? So what I'd do with this hand is I'd obviously just Tenacity, reveal the Delg, and judging from it, you can go for Pantheism for some RNG. Pantheism's still going to get you Domain at the end of it, or what you can do is you can go for Domain, and what happens now is you'll just go ahead and normal the Idea, you know, get your Eidos, tribute the Eidos for Delg, and now you'll trigger the return to search for Aether. You'll have Domain and Aether, which is kind of safe, and you can just banish Tenacity via Aether to tribute summon on your opponent's turn and trigger return again. If you don't want that play, another play which is kind of greedy, which is probably what I would do, is go for Pantheism and just get rid of the return and go for a draw 2 plus a search. You'll still get Domain at the end, but you We'll lose access to return. Kind of, sort of. I mean, you can still reveal 2 Pantheism plus a another Pantheism, so your opponent's probably just going to give you the return at that point. So actually, yeah, you'll still have the same play if you go for Pantheism, so never mind. I'm just going to go for Pantheism, because I'm greedy. Now we're going to... But as you guys can see, whether you go for Pantheism or not, you could just Tenacity for Domain, just Noma her out, and just make that play where you just resolve return, searching for Aether, banish this, tribute him on your opponent's turn, go into Aether via Domain, Domain lock, Aether, disrupt a little bit more, and dump cards. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go Pantheism. Oh, we drew Advanced Zone. I'm so glad that I did that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to Pantheism. I'm obviously going to go for... Let's just go for triple Domain, because we're going to get Pantheism back to hand anyways. So let's go for triple Domain, because Domain's the win con. It's one of the win cons. You have a lot of win cons now, though. It's not just Domain or bust. And now what we're going to do here is activate Advanced Stone. Let's normal Idea. Let's use her effect. Special Summon Eidos, of course. Eidos is going to activate. We do have a way to bait 1 negate too, which is pretty cool. So having Pantheism or Tenacity access plus Landrobe does bait double negates, which is pretty nice. So it's not the end of the world if you go second. Am I going to activate Delg? No, it only targets in your opponent's graveyard. Because I was going to say I'm not going to activate it anyways. So we're going to grab Pantheism back. And obviously, you know, we're going to activate it again. We have Escalation, but we really don't have a Tribute. So we're going to pitch this, grab that. Oh, we got Erupt now. That's pretty nice. So yeah, this is a pretty decent ending. I only tributed 1 monster for this one, so Advanced Zone's not going to get its best effect, but we drew like the 1-up Delve. We still have a Monarch, so we still have Domain Lock. We have Erupt. So if this is a combo deck that doesn't main back removal, being like Dragon Link or Adamanticators, they still lose. And they don't have Block Dragon to just summon it and attack over Delve now. They really do lose, actually. If they hard draw Gigantes, I guess, they have to like get an Earth Engrave, get Gigantes, crash into this, and then pop Domain. I guess that's one way, but I'm not going to sit here and shoulda, coulda, woulda all day. Oh, hey, baby. Okay, here I come after this. Restart, so this is another test hand. Oh, snap, this hand's good too. Thank you, Rhoda. Thank you for being one of my 5 ideas. Hey, calm down, Kingston. I said calm down.
Stop.
Normal idea. We're going to use his effect. I mean, her effect. She's a her. She's a her. Summon Eidos. Eidos is going to activate. And we're going to activate Return. Going hand, this hand's... I mean, going hand. Going second, this hand's not that great, to be honest. And what I'll do here... I'll go ahead and activate Domain. Unless I hard draw Advanced Zone, I'll activate Domain so I have like more tribute fodder. Nah, we good. We good actually. We are definitely good. Obviously Chainlink 1, Aether. Chainlink 2, Return. Aether's gonna go for Aether. I'm gonna go for a monster with 2800. Go for Erebus, because Erebus is really good via Escalation. And now we're going to resolve Aether. We're going to dump Pantheism and obviously Prime. Where you at, Prime? Where you at, Prime? Oh, there we go. Dump Pantheism and Prime. Special another copy of Aether, of course. I'm not going to Kuraz and pop these cards. These are just going to keep getting me advantage. Heck no, I'm not going to be that greedy. Now we're going to banish Pantheism. What we're going to do is we're going to reveal triple Tenacity. So obviously I'm going to get a Tenacity. Did he just say bye to his sissy? And we're going to go Tenacity, reveal the Erebus because they already know we have it. And at this point you go either Erupt or Escalation. I would probably, like, you have options. You have Stormforth, Erupt, or Escalation. I'd probably go for Escalation. So now you have Aether to disrupt your opponent, and you have Escalation to disrupt your opponent. So you can rip a card, or you can shuffle a card, and you have Aether, because in phase she goes back to hand. So this setup is really good. I'm not going to use the effect of Prime Engrave because I want this to be banished off Aether, and whatever cards you dump can be used for food for Prime. So this is a really good setup, and if you want to get more advantage, what you can also do is use Eidos to summon Idea. I'm not saying that this is actually a good idea, funny enough, right, because her name's Idea, but if you want more advantage, you just get Idea, because here's what's happened. We're just going to play this out. We're going to play this hand out, in face, resolve, go back to hand. I'm going to click always chain, so that way it's going to actually let me do something. These are all main phase effects. Since I'm playing against nobody, I'm just going to click battle phase, and now it's going to prompt me to be able to do stuff. So the first thing that I'll do is I'll go ahead and escalation. Yes, I want to activate this card's effect now. Do I chain Aether? I'm not going to chain it just to chain it. So what I'll do here is I'll tribute for Erebus. Tribute for one tribute, obviously. And now I'm going to be prompting Erebus. Hold on. Why isn't it letting me resolve Erebus's effect? Yeah, it's not letting me resolve Erebus's effect. That's so weird. That is so weird that it's not letting me resolve Erebus. I'm tripping out here. I'm tripping out here. Yeah, I'm tripping out here. That's just really strange to me. Grab another Aether. Yeah, Erebus. Oh, you know why I'm tripping? Because I'm playing against nobody, so there's nothing that he can shuffle. That's why. That's why. So Erebus was supposed to Foolish Burial for us, though. Dang, that kind of sucks. So now we're gonna go Aether, banish Tenacity, and yeah, we're gonna go ahead and tribute summon. And I'm gonna actually normal summon. This was the greedy play I was talking about. There we go. So now we have Chainlink 1 Aether, and we're gonna get Pantheism back. And then Aether's gonna grab Pantheism. There we go. That was just a greedy play. Do you do that now? No, you normally do that in your turn. I was just showing you guys the massive advantage you could get. I forgot Erebus was actually not gonna trigger. And then yes, we dump another Pantheism, of course. And then we're gonna dump Strike. And we just summon Kuraz. And since our opponent doesn't have cards to pop, we're just gonna pop our own cards. And guess what? Aether's not even once per turn either. So it's really busted when you go Aether for Aether, because I can still resolve Aether a second time. So like that's pretty busted. So I'm gonna draw two, and then I'm gonna activate Aether again. And the next card that I banish is relevant because I can add it back off of Idea. So what I would do here is I would like banish what is most important. Like if you don't need Strike, then you just banish Escalation, so you can get it back off of Idea. And the next thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and activate Prime. And what I'll do here is I'll banish Return. Yes, and Erebus is engraved too. Oh my goodness, that's just so much advantage. That's so much advantage. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and normal summon her, tribute these two. And what we're going to do next is use her effect again. And yeah, this is why Eldritch can't keep up. So what we'll do next is we'll just dump a Stormforth and a Domain, since we already have those cards in rotation. And we'll go for Kuraz again. And Kuraz is not once per turn, so now you're just going to pop these two. And we're going to draw two again. And look at that. And on top of that, we can go ahead and use Erebus. We really don't need any more Monarchs. Discard this. And from Grave, we're going to get... Aether's kind of like burned through dang near every tribute fodder. You don't want to grab Erebus himself. So I'll grab Kuraz because it's a card that I actually don't have. And you can grab another Aether if you want again, which is like super good. So as you guys can see, like all the advantage that we've gained is ridiculous. Our grave is completely set up. We have Erebus to recur anything. We have Prime Engrave. We have Pantheism Engrave. And our hand is just insane. Like honestly, we have so much. Landrobe can basically, like, you can Book of Moon one of your opponent's monsters now and use Landrobe to actually grab idea from graveyard to hand, since he's a special summon, which is really busted. So you have like a really good normal summon. It's just like, it doesn't really get better than this. Like, it probably would have got better if we opened a way to have Strike and Stormforth and Escalation and you know, Monarchs are up, but like that's a really sacky opening. But still, this is like super optimal. Don't forget, like a lot of these cards are not really once per turn. Like Pantheism is not once per turn, Aether is not once per turn, Erebus is not once per turn. Even though these are tribute summon effects, they're not once per turn, and you can actually tribute summon more than once. You know, obviously the Vassals are once per turn, but there's quite a few cards that are not, including Kuraz, it's not once per turn. So you guys see, this, like, you've plus so much with this. So like, this is Monarchs, this is what they do. And as you see, we're like, half of our deck is gone, and that was basically our first turn and our opponent's turn, which is really good. So yeah, you guys, Monarchs are great. They're a really fun deck. I think that they catch a lot of people off guard, and they get a lot of advantage, and I mean like a lot. That's like a lot. Like, no exaggeration. You know, something else that's cool is you could have grabbed the Aether from grave off of Caius and then resolved three Aethers on your opponent's turn. You know, instead of grabbing Kuraz, you could have grabbed Aether and then use Aether's effect again, tribute Aether, and then you can basically disrupt your opponent 3 times potentially. Isn't that crazy? That's really broken. So you could have summoned double Kuraz, pop 4 cards potentially, but then they draw 4 cards. Just saying the potential. And you could have summoned Delg to banish cards from their grave. That's really strong. And another thing, let me check out his graveyard effect. Oh my goodness. If we had a second Erebus, we'd resolve 4 Aethers. We'd be running out of targets at this point. So we're obviously going to search for a prime so we can start recycling. But yeah, you guys, this is Monarch. I'm going to say a quick prayer and be out. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Jesus. Thy kingdom come and thy will be done on earth just as it is in heaven. Please give us this day our daily bread, Lord, and please forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, Father, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the glory and the power forever. In the mighty name of Jesus I pray. Thank you, Lord Jesus. Hallelujah. Amen. All right, you guys. Peace.